Yo, what is going on, everybody? Mr. Deadeye back at it again with yet another reaction video, man. If y'all are new, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so y'all don't miss another upload of mine, man. Without further ado, let's get into the harsh truth about Victor Wembanyama. Shout out JxmyHighroller, man.
In 1997, the San Antonio
The GOAT of
Spurs
basketball
were one
content.
of the worst teams in the entire NBA, finishing the season with just 20 wins and with a rookie head coach leading the way.
Crazy.
Their future was uncertain. Their two best players were an aging Dominique Wilkins just 1 year away from his last NBA season, and their franchise player in David Robinson, who was sidelined with a season-ending injury that would linger for the rest of his career. The franchise was in a downward spiral with no end in sight. But what they did have was one more chance to make it right. Coming off the worst season in franchise history, the Spurs were given the third best odds to get the first overall pick in the 1997 draft. Exactly what the organization needed to rejuvenate their roster. But according to pre-draft evaluations, the gap between the potential first pick and the third pick was massive. Get the third pick and settle for a small forward out of Utah named Keith Van Horn, or win the lottery and land on the best
I've never heard of that guy
in over a decade. A 4-year starter out of Wake Forest by the name of Tim Duncan. On the day of the draft lottery, the future of the Spurs franchise and the future of the NBA would change forever.
The second pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the Philadelphia 76ers. And that means that the first pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations.
That's crazy. That literally changed the entire
That's
NBA.
Spurs chairman Peter Holt. And in this moment, he was the happiest man on earth because he just won the first overall pick in the 97 NBA draft. Who he would pick was already a foregone conclusion. But not Peter or anyone else at the time knew that the Spurs just won the rights to one of the greatest players in the history of the game. And this very moment was the beginning of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. And
they changed the entire NBA
later,
for like a decade.
Luck would have it that the Spurs have found themselves right in the middle of another historic night once again, because they now have the rights to the #1 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft.
Think about it though. The last two first overall picks that the Spurs had, David Robinson, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest two-way big men we've ever seen. Their next first overall pick, Tim Duncan, one of the greatest ever. And now, Victor Wembanyama.
And the prospect they plan on claim to be bigger and than anything we have ever seen. As we get
I'd say since LeBron.
The hype surrounding Victor Wembanyama is growing by the minute. Experts and analysts claiming he's the greatest prospect in the history of the sport. Some even claiming he's the best prospect of any sport ever.
If he can stay healthy, he has the chance to literally change the entire landscape of the NBA. Like, everybody will have to adjust to him. That's how impactful he can be as a player in this league. He might change rules. He might change entire defensive schemes. Like, this kid literally, if he stays healthy and has the career we think he's going to have and has the potential we think he's going to have, can literally transform and transcend the entire NBA for years to come. That's insane. And he's now under the best developmental organization, objectively speaking, in the entire NBA. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Believed to have hit the basketball jackpot that will set them up for 2 decades of success and championships. But how good can one prospect actually be? Fans already talking about future championships for the Spurs since they've essentially landed Victor.
I agree.
Potential greatness into real winning and championships is a task that very few players have ever been capable of doing.
Wow.
Today's video is sponsored
Pay your bills, man.
Against the Jimmy's 25 #1 overall draft picks. How many do y'all think have won a Finals MVP? Maybe 4 or 5? How about 1?
One? That's even just won one Finals MVP? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Wow. I would have guessed like 3, 4, 5 at most. One?
Pick in the
Crazy.
last 25 seasons who has won a Finals MVP. But Finals MVPs are about the toughest thing to win in all of basketball. So what about
That's
regular
crazy,
season
man.
MVPs? How many of the last 25 first overall picks have won at least one of those? 2. LeBron James and Derrick Rose. That's it. But how about this? How many of the last 25 number 1 overall picks do you think have won a championship? They could be a role player for all I care. As long as they have a ring, it counts. But
What,
the
3?
answer is still just 6.
6.
Winning in the NBA is very, very hard to do. But fans and
See, that makes
experts
sense.
are already
6
putting
seems
this
about right.
burden on a kid who hasn't even been drafted yet. But we've done this before. Unrealistic hype and
But it's different because he's under the best developmental team in the NBA in the San Antonio Spurs. And you look at their past 2 draft picks, and they're both first ballot Hall of Famers, some of the best big men we've ever seen ever in the NBA. You know what I mean? If they get the right pieces around Victor Wembanyama while they're simultaneously developing him, you know what I'm saying? Within the best organization in the NBA for developing players, there is a pretty good chance in his career he's going to win some championships. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a couple MVPs, Finals MVPs. He has so much potential. He's got to stay healthy, man. He's got to stay healthy.
Expectations met with inevitable disappointment. It feels like just yesterday, Zion Williamson was being regarded as the greatest basketball prospect of the decade. And yet here we are, 4 years later, and Zion has played in just 29 games over the last 2 seasons and has yet to play in a single playoff game. Great player, but as of right now, far from the franchise-altering force he was hyped up.
You know what's crazy to me? The Pelicans were literally the 1 seed this past season when he was healthy, right? In the beginning of the season. They were above the likes of the Nuggets, the Suns, the Grizzlies. They were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference when he was healthy. The second he gets injured, they become a play-in team. He is one of the most dominant forces in NBA history, but he just hasn't played. He gets injured. And it's the same thing with Victor Wembanyama. I'd say he has way more potential than Zion does. You know what I mean? Even though Zion literally averaged 27 in his sleep, 60-something% from the field. I mean, this dude's a monster. He's unguardable. But Victor Wembanyama, if he stays healthy, has more potential than anyone in this current NBA. There's a reason scouts are drooling over this kid. So, that's my take. That's my take.
Player who was said to be a generational prospect coming into the NBA, nicknamed the Fresh Prince, being that he was the successor to LeBron King James. This is Ben Simmons, a player that was too afraid to take a shot in a playoff game and peaked in his 2nd season in the league.
Wait, they really said that? They really said that? Ben Simmons? I mean, he had some amazing performances at LSU. He got Rookie of the Year. He got 2 All-Star appearances or something. Man, that is hilarious looking back. They compared him to the best prospects since LeBron. Oh, man.
Players far more often than you would think. DeAndre Ayton is a solid NBA player.
Oh,
nowhere near a superstar, but he could be a
piece on
a championship-winning team. Now, would you believe that just 3 months before he was drafted, he was labeled as a, quote, anomaly? In the moment, it always feels like the next guy up is going to be the guy. And then shortly after, we forget about the unwarranted comparisons and move on to the next guy. But to really understand
Marvin Bagley was a dog in high school.
To draft a player who becomes an all-time great, stays healthy, and stays loyal to the franchise that drafted him, we have to look at the teams and players who actually did it. If we're talking about transcendent players who led the team that drafted them to multiple championships, then that list only includes 7 players who were drafted in the modern NBA. Over 3,000 players drafted since 1980, and 7 of them went on to be a loyal, franchise-altering talent.
That's unbelievable.
These players right here are icons, legends in their franchise and to the game, and they only come around about once in a decade. Now, if Victor is as good as advertised, he could be added to this list one day, but the path to get there is long and riddled with players who fell short. But in the NBA, even the stars, superstars, and once-in-a-generation talents struggle to win the ultimate prize. Luka Doncic has been a phenom since he entered the NBA, so far exceeding all pre-draft expectations. And yet 5 seasons into his NBA journey, and he has yet to see the finals.
Tough.
And even missed the playoffs in this last season. Kevin Durant is one of the
Because of Kyrie Irving.
greatest players to ever touch a basketball. But even he had to abandon the team that drafted him to join a juggernaut of a team to win a championship. James Harden,
He's a
Russell
snake.
Westbrook, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid. The list of all-time great players who have yet to win a title or find any real success in the playoffs is massive, which makes the expectations on Wembanyama
Look at this kid,
all
man.
the more baffling. To think that a 19-year-old can come
This
into
kid's
a
an
struggling
alien.
franchise and turn everything around may not be realistic. And even worse, it may not even be fair to the young man. Ironically, the best turnaround directly caused by a rookie in modern NBA history was by Tim Duncan. After the Spurs drafted Duncan, their win total jumped from 20 wins in 1997 to 56
Good
wins
Lord.
in 1998. A 36-win jump in Timmy's first season with the team and a championship in his second season.
That's unbelievable.
This is by far the greatest leap a team has ever seen simply by adding a rookie to their roster. Larry Bird was another immediate franchise-altering player for the Celtics, but that
One of the
was
few
nearly
back-to-back
half a
MVPs, man.
century
Legend.
ago. LeBron couldn't do it, KD couldn't do it, Steph and Michael took years to pull it off, and yet somehow we don't just want, but we expect this 19-year-old kid to do it. I really think some
It's
fans
unfair.
don't understand
It
the
is.
pressure that they are putting on Wembanyama. He could be great, amazing, injury-free, generational, and to expect this level of excellence out of him could still be far too much. Over the past 25 seasons, the average MVP finishes the season with a win share total of 15.2.
Wow.
Over that same time span, the average All-Star has a win share total of 10. And among the 450 active players in any given season, the average single-season win share total across the league is
Oh
just
my
2.
God.
Now, over the last 25 years, among number 1 overall picks in their rookie season, the average win share total is 4.2. That
For the number 1 pick, the pressure they are putting on this kid might be the single most pressure we've seen since LeBron. Arguably more because of social media. This is unbelievable.
5.7
Not even a considerable jump from first to second.
7.9 in their third season. But by season 4, many of these once prodigies start to lose their
Goes
minutes.
down.
They fall out of the rotation, they fail to adapt their game and skill sets to the NBA, and the average win share falls to 6.7.
Man.
And by season 5, by the time we as fans have made a decision on these players, the average win share total falls to just 5.9.
That's what's crazy to me. People just forget when you're talking about a top draft pick, right? That the average age an NBA player hits their prime is 27. Arguably 5-6 seasons into the NBA. Even longer is when they just start hitting their stride at 25, right? They just start hitting the stride. And that's still 2 years removed from their prime. Average prime. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are putting way too much pressure into top overall picks. You have to give them time. They come in as kids. They come in as 18, 19, 20-year-olds, man. Playing against grown men with kids, man. Like, it's crazy. It's mind-boggling to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to give them 7-8 years for them to hit their prime. And they're expecting them off the jump to be in their prime, leading their team, who is one of the worst in the NBA. You know, just completely flipping their franchise around. You can't just do that. It is once in a lifetime you'll see that. Once in a decade you'll see that. Maybe not even once in a decade. That is unbelievable pressure on this kid. You know? That is unbelievable. People just forget that you got to give them years, at least till they're 27, you know what I'm saying, 25 through 27, to even start hitting their stride as an NBA superstar. You know what I mean? People just think, write him off after 3 to 5 years, be like, oh, okay, he's not that good. But then a couple years later, he comes back and has his peak. But he's already forgotten about. Right? It's unfair. It's unfair, man.
About the same as the average starter in the NBA. This is the career
Crazy.
of an average number 1 overall pick in the NBA. We see number 1 overall players as the guys who went on to have great careers. Guys like Kyrie and Anthony Davis and LeBron. But we
Prime
forget
Dwight
that
was
far more often,
insane,
these number 1
bro.
overall picks
People
pan out
forget
to
how
be
good
players
Dwight
like
was
Markelle
in his
Fultz,
prime.
Andrea Bargnani, and Kwame Brown. But even for the groundbreaking prospects who are league ready the day they put on an NBA jersey.
Bro, when do y'all think Ben Simmons will actually, like, play again, bro?
The result is still rarely a championship.
You're always coming up with some
real
excuse to be
hardware
injured.
Or impact. Over the last 25
Or
years,
mental
the players
reasons.
who had the largest impact in their rookie season were Chris Paul, Ben Simmons, and Blake Griffin, followed by the 12 next best rookies of the last 25 seasons. You are looking at the greatest rookie seasons of this century, and yet only half of them were even the best player on their team by the end of their first season in the league. But I want y'all to take a guess at how many of these players even made the playoffs in their rookie season.
Probably like,
your answer?
what, 2, 3?
2. Which means out of the 15 best
Shout
rookies
out Andre,
who entered
man.
the league over the last 25 seasons, not a single one of them led their team to the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
both of them
among
weren't
these
even
same
number 1
15
picks, bro.
rookie sensations, by their 3rd season in the league, only 4 of them managed to lead their team to the playoffs as the best player
Crazy.
on the team. It is
Crazy.
very hard to win in the NBA. But like some sort of gambling addict, us NBA fans like to count the wins while ignoring the losses.
Exactly.
Somehow the countless misses we've had are outweighed by the 1 or 2 we got right. Is Victor Wembanyama the most hyped NBA prospect of all time? Well, I'm not sure. Some experts
I'd
that
say
have been
since
around a lot
LeBron.
longer than I have would like to say so.
Because of
But
social
if
media.
my memory serves me right, I can recall a 17-year-old LeBron James drawing so much attention that he managed to have an Ohio high school basketball game featured on national television.
Yeah.
Long before social media.
Long
The
before
likes
social
of
media.
LeBron James,
That was
Patrick
unheard
Ewing,
of.
and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were all household names before they even put on an NBA jersey. I don't know if Wembanyama is at that level of hype at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say
but he's
since
getting
LeBron.
there. And with that amount of hype comes overwhelming pressure to perform. It's easy to sit back and watch this kid play. See his incredible tools in action. 7 feet 5 inches tall, 8-foot wingspan with a silky smooth jump shot and world-class defensive instincts. And one can only assume he will find immediate or even eventual success in the form of championships and cultural impact in the NBA. Coaches and scouts who have been around the game for decades and have seen every prospect rise through the ranks over the years are saying Victor Wembanyama is better than all of them. It would take an era-defining talent to come into the NBA and transform a franchise into a dynasty. But if Victor is everything we think he is, he may just be the next player to do it.
Wow. Shout out JxmyHighroller, man. This dude blows our minds every single video, man. He seems to amaze me every single video, man. The effort, the stats, the research. You know what I'm saying? How deep he dives into every stat. It's unbelievable. You soon realize, like, man, Victor Wembanyama is literally, like, we need to back off a little bit. We are putting so much pressure on a kid who just turned 19, man. He's a kid. He's a kid. He's my age. Like, man. But he's taking it really well, and you can see the impact he's having already. As far as, you know, he's been telling the media, you know, you can tell physically he's getting a lot stronger. You know, he told the media that since they're playing less games internationally, which scouts are drooling over even more because usually international players like Luka, Jokic, Embiid, even though Embiid played college ball in Kansas, you know, they usually come into the league hitting their prime sooner than guys who went through the American high school and college route, right? But he said because they're playing less games in Europe than in the NBA, he's taking the time to focus on his body more, which is unbelievable. You know what I mean? To make sure he has endurance, to make sure he doesn't get injured as much, you know, which is amazing to hear because, you know, some players are just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be number 1 pick. I can worry about that once I get to the league. No, this kid's already putting in the work. He's already getting bigger, stronger at 19, at 7'5". You know what I'm saying? This kid's scary, man. If he can stay healthy, I think, even though the pressure on him is just way too much for a kid, You know what I'm saying? And we can say that about a lot of number one picks, but this kid's pressure is different. You know what I'm saying? I think this kid has all the potential in the world. I wish him the best of luck. And I think him and Coach Pop are really, really going to gel really well together. And I'm so blessed that he's going to the best developmental organization in the NBA. He couldn't have asked to be in a better situation. But yeah, man, that's going to do it, man. Shout out JxmyHighroller, man. Always putting out amazing content, man. He's the king of basketball content, man. Like, and yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to turn on that notification bell so y'all don't miss another reaction video. Join that Deadeye gang, man. Come on, man. We the best gang out here, man. Always putting out reaction videos daily. Like, what else can you ask for? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. We out this thing. Peace.